What up, guys? The Bench Buddies are back with my first round preview and picks for all the Friday games. Subscribe to the channel down below to be entered into our giveaway. So we'll jump into it here with the first four results. 1 for 3, I got the Colorado State game right. Howard came back, didn't get it done. Montana State lost in overtime. Boise State struggled. But we're looking to get it right here with the Thursday games, as I'll have the results on Saturday. Starting off, Northwestern, FAU. I'm going with FAU here after last year's run. It just seems like this team needs to get off on the right foot to prove that they weren't a one-year wonder. And I think they will against Northwestern, but this is going to be a great guard matchup. Boo Buie from Northwestern is expected to play in this one and have a great game against FAU. But FAU has some good guards to possibly stop him. As you know, if you're looking to see some high scoring, I think this is that game. Colgate, Baylor. Obviously, I'm going with Baylor here in this one, but Colgate and 14 points. I think that's a little too much. I think Colgate loses by around 10. Colgate could probably, I mean, we already saw Oakland pull off an upset here against Kentucky, but I don't think two 14-3 upsets. I don't think that's going to happen this year. But Colgate could keep this one close throughout the game, but I think Baylor pulls away in the end. UAB, San Diego State, another team that made it to the Final Four last year is in action. I'm going with the Aztecs of San Diego State here. The 6.5 is concerning because I think it would be a little more here for San Diego State playing in the Mountain West, a tougher conference this year, as they played some good basketball, but UAB doing a lot to get into the tournament and give them credit for where they are as a 12 seed. But the Aztecs, I think, just play better defense and an overall better basketball game, and they're the better team in this one. So I'm going San Diego State. At 2, one of my national champions that I have in a few of my brackets is Marquette. And I don't think it's safe to say that they're going to cover this one because they have kind of been sluggish the last few games that they have played. And Western Kentucky, they're a pretty solid team. But compared to Marquette, on paper, Marquette should blow these guys out. But I don't think that's the case. I think Marquette escapes here with a win. So that means I'm going with the Western Kentucky spread. But Marquette could be that team that, sneaks around and gets to a Sweet 16, not really making big headlines because they're just escaping. Then the next round of games at 2:45, you've Stetson, UConn, and obviously got to go with the Huskies here because, well, they're defending champions. They're clearly the best team in basketball. And if they lose to Stetson here, I just think that would be a crazy fall off for UConn, especially after the year they've had 31-3 and then, winning the Big East, doing everything they can possibly do to put themselves in a good position to win this game. And I think that's the case. I think they're moving on to at least the round of 32. 3:10 on True TV, you have New Mexico and Clemson. And I think whoever wins this game is going to make a Sweet 16 run. And I say that because both of these teams are very good teams that, right now in March, I don't think are a popular pick to go to the Sweet 16. Clemson and the ACC, obviously ACC was weak this year. New Mexico out of the Mountain West had to win the conference tournament to really get in. Even with a decent record like that, they were on the bubble there, but they pulled off some good wins to get in and obviously win the conference tournament. And I'm liking New Mexico here to pull off the 11-6 upset. Yale, Auburn. Now this one, I don't want to say it was a coin flip, but obviously you got to lean Auburn a little bit here. I'm going 60-40 Auburn, and I think Yale covers this 12.5 because we've seen it time and time again. I mean, last year Princeton, the 15 upsetting the 2 seed last year. And it just seems like the Ivy League always plays competitive basketball games in March when it matters most. I'm not saying they always pull off an upset, but they always keep it close. And I think Yale is going to keep this one close with Auburn, as Auburn, has played some really good basketball, the SEC champions. But I think they survive a scare here, but Yale covers. Then at 4:30, you always have a team that is in the first four that wins at least one game in the tournament. And, Colorado State lost today. So they didn't do it. Wagner, they didn't do it. And I have, you'll see later the Grambling State losing to Purdue. But so that leaves Colorado. And I think Colorado gets a good matchup here, favorable matchup. Obviously, Iowa center last week in the SEC championship broke his ankle. He's done for the year. So they're going to have to learn to play with him without him on the fly. And the Buffaloes coming off of a win just 2 days ago. I think Colorado gets this win here in a minor upset. This one, another coin flip game. Obviously, here, as you can see, 9 versus 8 seed. It's just a straight pick. I'm going with Nebraska. I think Nebraska is going to get their first ever March Madness win. and it's going to be a good one. I think this is a game you'll want to tune in to see. Possibly one of these teams could pull off an upset, upsetting a 1 seed. I think this is that game. Duke, Vermont, and Duke, is a team that makes some noise when they are 3, 4, 5 seeds in March normally. And, John Shire looking to make a run at his first national championship as head coach, but they got to get Vermont in this one. And Vermont has been a solid team for the last few years. They are no joke. 12 points. It's a tough spread. I'm gonna stay away from the spread in this one just because we don't know which Duke team we're gonna get. Sometimes they like to play down to the level of other teams, but for straight up pick, you got to go Duke. And then, like I said earlier, Purdue against Grambling State. Purdue should blow them out, but we know how Purdue has fared the last few years and their struggles in March. The 27 points, I think, is a little too much. I'm going with the Grambling State spread just because Purdue's track record the last few tournaments haven't been pretty. And if that's the case, you gotta go with what you've seen rather than what you think. Then you have Charleston in Alabama, and Nate Oates in Alabama just agreed to a huge contract extension to keep him with Alabama for the foreseeable future. And, obviously he's happy about that, but then get blown out in the SEC tournament the day of. Once that happens, I think that's going to light a fire in this Alabama team. They're going to get past Charleston here. Maybe in the first half, it'll be a, back and forth game, really close at halftime, but I think Bama pulls away here in the last 8 minutes. Then the last round of games, you have Longwood and Houston. And Houston, the last 1 seed to play. I think they're going to dominate Longwood in this one. The first 10 minutes probably will be close, but around halftime, Houston should be up at least 10 and then just coast to an easy win here because they play such good defense as Houston moves on to the round of 32. And then for an upset, I have Bruin, James Madison. They've been a great team all year, 31-3, going against Wisconsin. And yeah, they made a good run to the Big Ten championship. Unfortunately, lost obviously to Illinois. But I just think this Wisconsin team has been way too inconsistent to trust this year. And obviously, the 5.5 spread shows that they're giving some respect to James Madison. But I think if there is a 12-5 upset that happens this year, it's got to be James Madison. Their track record this year has been really good, where Wisconsin has played some questionable games and played down to other teams' levels. And if that's the Wisconsin team we get for even a half, I think James Madison walks away with the win. At 9:55 on TBS, you get TCU, Utah State, 9-8 matchup. Normally these games are always come down to the wire. I'm going with the Aggies out of the Mountain West. I just think TCU, just kind of like Wisconsin, they played in a tough conference this year, but they seemed like they were always on the wrong end of some results. And Utah State has really been leading up to March, playing some good basketball. And for that reason, I'm going with Utah State. Then the last game of the first round, Grand Canyon, St. Mary's, and St. Mary's, I'm going with the Gales, winning the West Coast Conference, beating Gonzaga, who just obliterated McNeese State today. St. Mary's is really good on paper. They're one of the best teams in the tournament. As a 5 seed, I thought it was a little low for them. I thought they could have been, maybe the ceiling was a 3. I thought they would have been a 4 seed. But here they are as a 5, and they get a tough matchup in Grand Canyon, who is no joke. 29-4, getting into this tournament was good. I thought they could have even been an 11 seed compared to some other 11 seeds, but they got in a 12. And this is going to be a good game for both these teams. I think if you are a real basketball fan, not just a March Madness fan, you'll want to stay up and watch this one because both of these teams are going to be going back and forth all game. But that's going to be it for my Friday picks. Come back tomorrow on Saturday to see who I'm taking for the Saturday games. But until the next time, the Bench Buddies are out.